I suppose just in relation to these amendments, I suppose I would sort of agree that, excluding certain groups, particularly in the public service, to some extent could discriminate a group of people who, through merit and experience would, potentially be able to go through the Public Accounts Committee. In relation to your last amendment, the 169, where you're talking about that the Chief Executive cannot decide the fund, doesn't have the last say in terms of the funding. The Chief Executive, is the person who's responsible to the accounts, to the committees here, to the Public Accounts Committee. They themselves are responsible for this. So as the Chief Executive, they themselves have to be responsible for the funding that is given to these bodies. So that to me means that, it's impossible for us to say as well that it would be the board that would have to give consent or approval for funding as well as the Chief Executive, if I've read it correctly. Again, I come back, yeah, okay, if I've read it correctly. So yeah, I suppose just, to my mind, I suppose what we want to see is that the Chief Executive here is going to be the Chief Executive of a brand new body that is going to have, a lot of responsibilities. There's going to be a lot of, I suppose, diligence around that role as well. We're going to ensure that, that there is the best person coming forward for this and that has the approval, like the person will be appointed by the board themselves. So I suppose it's that, the onus is on all of us. But we would hope that through this process, you're going to have a really strong person who's going to represent this body, who's going to be looking after the funding for these higher education institutes, who's going to be responsible to us as public representatives, to our committees here, especially with the Public Accounts Committee. And I suppose I would echo that, excluding groups, without the option of applying for a role with all the processes that are in place, I just think would be unfair. So, yeah, thank you.
Very much indeed.